when I think about it now, man, I think about all the days that I wanted to quit and I didn't. All the days where I was like, man, I'd rather go party with my boys and go hang out and do this and that. Nope, I got to get up and train. And that's carried me on to life now.
You're listening to The Hot Wash by Born Primitive Tactical. I'm Bruno Fallon. I've spent my 4-decade career in some of the most elite units in the United States Special Operations community, where I learned that elite operators aren't made overnight. They're forged through hardship, discipline, and relentless drive. In each episode, I sit down with the most accomplished and innovative leaders in special operations, industry, coaching, and athletes of all disciplines. Let's jump right in. Hey, this is Bruno with The Hot Wash by Born Primitive Tactical. We've got a great guest here today. Not just a guest, a family member, team member, an ambassador of Born Primitive, Derek Wolfe. I probably don't need to introduce his background to most of you. You know, he probably crushed one of your quarterbacks of your teams at some point. If you never saw the epic story of the mountain lion that he killed and some of the things he's doing out in the public today, he's just an amazing man. So Derek, welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, glad to have you. He also runs a pretty epic podcast himself, Wolfe Untamed. I made the pinky shake before we get on here that I'm going to go out there and get on his as well. But the main reason I've got him on here is not just to welcome him to the Born Primitive family, because this is his first trip with us, and it's been pretty epic. We'll talk about it. But we're going to go to some cool places today, because him and I, since we've been talking mindset, ethos, team building, we get lathered up when we talk about it. So we said, let's make this a podcast. So Derek, welcome. How do you feel about coming in the Born Primitive family so far?
You know, we talked about, you just said it perfect, how, we talk about all this stuff that we want to do. And what I love about you and the team that you put together is you're not all talk. Because all of these guys, they just talk about it and they never put anything into action. And it's like, okay, well, who's going to do the work? Who's going to make it all come together? You need a leader. Like somebody has to lead the team. And what you've been able to do, the way you just watching, from the time I stepped into that expo and how everything was like organized and everybody knows what their goal, what their job is. Everybody knows where they're supposed to be. Everybody knows when they're supposed to be there. And it's just like, there's no miscommunications about anything. It's been a super relieving for me, because I've been a part of other companies and deals where it's like, hey man, like this is really not making any sense here. We're just all over the place. I don't know what you want from me. You don't even know what to ask from me. And now we're just lost in the weeds. So
right.
It's been a breath of fresh air to come in and then just the group of guys that you got, with Aaron Snyder, being a good friend of mine already. And I've spent a lot of time in the woods with him, and he's just like one of the best human beings you can ever be around. He's so genuine. So to have him, because he's been like a hunting mentor for me. Anytime I have a question, he fills me. It's almost too much.
Yeah, he's an amazing dude. I mean, he for what he has accomplished, he's pretty humble. And the coolest thing I've ever heard said about him that didn't, and he won't talk about himself, which is kind of cool. But the coolest thing I've ever heard said about him is, there's a lot of guys out there that have killed way more shit than he has, but there are not many guys on this planet that have walked in as deep as he has to sit on one animal and kill that animal and come out. I mean, he's a
with a stick bow.
Yeah, he's a Viking. I mean, absolutely. And I love being around him. It's one of those that we feed off of each other, and I'm getting that same energy off you. One of the cool things we did this morning, a little team building exercise, is me, Derek, and Bear, and then some of our, Shield Maiden women that we have on our team, Katie Knight and Emma and the crew. We all went and did a gym workout this morning, and it quickly became the measuring contest, who's bigger, this and that. And I'll tell you right now, all three of us left and looked at each other. All three of us are flying out of the expo today. And we're like, I don't know if sitting on an airplane is going to be cool.
Yeah, it's going to suck. Well, because I mean, that's what's fun about that's why being around guys like us, like-minded guys that want to go in there and compete with each other.
Right.
That is like what I crave that after retiring from the NFL. I crave that environment because it brings out the best of you. Like, I'm not going to just we're doing hack squats, right? I'm not going to just go to failure if I'm by myself. And my failure by myself is maybe a little bit instead of 50 reps, it might be 20 reps,
right.
You know, like, oh, it's getting pretty hard. I don't need to do this. I could do another exercise to do it. But we were on short time. We were trying to get as much as we could in that short amount of time. And then we go over so we did legs and back, right? We go over to the back, to the lat pull down machine. And I was like, all right, I'm going to just do 15 on this last one because we were doing 10s. And I was like, I'm going to do 15 and do something on this one. And you come in and do fucking 50.
That's the silverback. Now, you have to understand, and I know you get this, that's, I'm going to turn 60 this year. And being able to work out with you and Bear Hanlon, who's a freaking beast.
Yeah, he's a beast.
To be able to even be in a workout with you guys and be able to push the weight you're doing, to me, it's a mindset thing. And we're going to talk about mindset. But I've been an athlete my whole life. You've been an athlete your whole life. And the thing I challenge Bear and the thing I challenge you is never come off the gas. You need to be in your 50s and take a 30-year-old in the gym and hang with them. And if you can put them down a notch, great. You feel good all day. Yeah, I'm not going to feel good today, by the way. It's going to hurt. But I left. I mean, the most rewarding thing I did at the expo was that workout and that team building this morning. I mean,
that's the best thing you can possibly do as a team. Any team is to grind together, to go through something hard, do something hard together. And it's just a gym workout, but it's little things like that. You keep doing stuff like that, and then our team just gets bigger and stronger. And I'm using like weight room antics to explain it, but it's the same thing. Like if you're consistent with that work and have that same amount of grind, and you can put your ego aside, because there's going to be a little bit of ego involved. But like, I'm not mad because you can do more reps than me. I'm fucking jazzed up about it. Yep. Like I'm like pushing you, go more, do more, do more, do more. And that's what's I think that's the problem, especially in the industry, the hunting industry. What I see is there's a lot of ego. There's enough to go around, man. Like you don't have to be an asshole. Like you don't have to be a hater. You don't have to put somebody else down, and you don't have to just be a solo guy. You could be a part of a team and lift each other up. It was like that in football, man. Like I played next to Von Miller for 8 years, and I did everything I could to make sure he got to the quarterback. Like that was like, if he got a sack, I felt like I got a sack. Because I could give a fuck about Hall of Fame, about any of that bullshit. I don't care about being in the Hall of Fame, Pro Bowls, all pros. I don't care. I had never cared about that. I cared about winning football games and getting Super Bowls and getting a paycheck and be able to take care of my family. That's why I'm retired at 33 years old. I was 33 years old, got to retire. Now I'm going to be 35, and it's like, fuck me, I get to do whatever I want now. But that was the goal.
That's the ethos, right? I mean, one of the things, just for y'all, Derek's new with us as an ambassador, but him and I have been talking for quite a bit of time now. And the one thing I'll say about Born Primitive, I am building the tactical and outdoor team, and we get people contacting us every day wanting to be ambassadors. And I'm like, sorry, you don't apply to be ambassadors. We're handpicking our ambassadors. And I went after Derek for one reason. I just see the potential of you and what you're doing. And I don't mean just hunting, and I don't mean your athletic background, but what you're doing in civilian life out there in Colorado and how you're getting actively involved in the community. And that's what I want. I want the go-getter, the ethos to be part of this team, and you instantly fit with us. Yeah. So, I mean, when we talk about mindset and we talk about our initial conversation to get him on the podcast was, I want to contrast a elite military operator to an elite football player. And everything we talked about was the same principles, right?
Yeah.
So
it really is. It's funny because so John Fox was my first NFL coach. His dad was a SEAL. So Foxy loved he brought in a lot of SEALs to talk to us. He used to bring in a lot of fighter jet pilots and stuff, because we're in Colorado. They're all out there, you know what I mean? So he'd bring in all these guys, these elite operators, to come in and talk to us. And dude, I just was always fascinated even as a young kid. I was fascinated by SF guys, any kind of special forces group. I met a Navy SEAL when I was like, 13 or 14. And I was like, that's the guy. I want to be like him. That guy's cool. If I don't play in the NFL, that's what I want to do. I'm going to join the Navy SEALs. So I was like in my head already. So a teacher couldn't tell me shit, because I was like, I'm either playing football or I'm joining the SEALs. That's what I'm doing. That's the only two options. So for me, being around these guys, it's all the same shit. It's the same mindset. And that's what they always talk about. Every one of them always talked about your mindset. if you go into anything thinking you're going to get killed, you're going to lose, you're going to this or that, it's going to probably happen, you know? So you have to go into everything with confidence and you have to prepare for that. You know, prior preparation prevents piss poor performance, right?
Yep.
It's the 5 P's or whatever the fuck it is. You know, it's like that was dug into me at a young age by these SEALs. And then I got to the NFL and it was like, oh, they're fucking preaching the same thing, you know, and it just made sense. And that's why we think we get along so well. And it's when you're in the teams, when you're on a team of doing anything, and then you're not on that team anymore, it fucking sucks.
You miss
right? The fucking camaraderie.
That's the juice.
I don't miss any of the other bullshit. I miss being in the locker room with the guys and fucking bullshitting with them and going out there and fucking getting after it together and then like celebrating together afterwards. That's what you remember and that's what you miss.
Yeah.
And that's what every time I talk to a veteran, that's what they talk about is like, man, I miss my boys. Like I miss being around my guys.
I think you nail it there. I mean, one of the biggest things, and not to get off topic, that really wears on me is you see operators from my career field that once they get away from the guys, they let the fitness go, they get into the bottle. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, the veteran suicide rate is astronomical. And, you know, hopefully it's brought more to the forefront in today's age because, you know, our last government system didn't even want to talk about it. It wasn't important. And it is very important. But you nailed it. Getting more on the positive on the ethos and the team thing. What I don't think people realize is that the hardship of training that you go through, for you to go through all your camps and to get on a team and to not get injured and to go all the way through the grind of the season is exactly the same thing that we do to go through all the screenings and assessments and trainings and then all the workups to go overseas and then you finally deploy and then guess what? Everything at that point in time is about one thing, the guy on the left, the guy on the right, and let's go crush whatever it is. You know, in our business, it's crush a target. With you, it's crush a quarterback, right? So it's the same principles and it leads to the same thing. And then you find these, you know, the biggest thing I'll tell you, and this is carrying over to me with team building and business. When I build a team, it's about the right people and the ethos. And you're seeing the team I'm building here. The one thing I won't have is the cancer, the person that is always the whiner, always the downer, and is just finds the negative and everything. They're gone. Yeah, I can't have that because if you're feeding on that, other people will feed on it and it'll just bring you down and suck the life of you. And I think that's the difference. You tell me, is that the difference between champion teams?
Yep.
Right.
And I'll explain it to you. I've been a part of some really good fucking teams, Super Bowl. I've been to a Super Bowl and lost. I've been to a Super Bowl and won. Both of those teams were really fucking good. The one that we went and won, we had a defense that just would not be denied. And then after that happened, it was like the leadership at the top level kind of fell and players didn't have as much say and we couldn't really make decisions. And I saw cancer start to spread in our locker room. But it sucks whenever you're a player because there's nothing you can do about it because it's on the GM to get rid of that fucking guy. Well, the GM's not in the locker room, right? He's not in there. He doesn't see like what is actually happening. So I've watched guys, it starts with like, oh, we need to be doing this. We need to be doing that. Why are we doing this? They're questioning everything. And then that doubt starts to trickle into somebody else's head. And then they get a little click and their little group comes together. And then that group comes together. Then you have this group who's like, quit bitching. Like, let's just do what we do. And now you have separation. Now you're not playing as a team anymore. Now you're separated. And then it's like, oh, we're blaming the offense for this. So now the defense and the offense, we don't get along with them. We don't like them because they go out there, they get a fucking 3 and out every time. We got to go straight back on the field. And we're not getting any rest. They're not scoring any points. Like we're fucking crushing these guys. We're the number 1 defense in the fucking league and they can't score any points. Now we're not going to the playoffs. And we're fucked. And now that's what happens. Like, and it all starts with like 1 or 2 guys. We call them locker room lawyers. They're in there fucking chirping. And those guys, that cancer has to be weeded out immediately. And it's leadership's job to do that, you know? And it's like, as a player, it's not your job to go in there and fucking yank people out of the locker room. Cause it's like, that's his livelihood. You know what I mean? So you can have a conversation with him, but the problem is you're dealing with grown men. So you go up to a grown man and be like, hey, quit bitching. Like, we're probably going to fist fight, you know? And that's just the way, I mean, it happens a lot, you know? And I dealt with that where it was like, hey, if I'm going to speak up, somebody would interrupt me or something during a fucking speech, I would fucking get after them and be like, hey, motherfucker, like I'm talking. You're being disrespectful. If we have to fight, we have to fight. And I know that sounds like, oh, alpha bullshit, but no, that's the way it's the way it is on a team.
Right.
Like it's not how it operates in like a business, but
you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised
on a football team. Like, hey, motherfucker, we're gonna get in a fight and then we'll be fucking best friends the next day. Like, that's how it goes.
It can work in business. Now, it has to be the right business, it has to be the right environment. And the reason I say that is 40 years in my community, 30 active duty, and 10 as a government civilian. And the reason I was never in the private sector is I did not want to leave the brotherhood. I loved being around the community. And even in the capacity I was, like, my last role as a director of a program, I wasn't going on target or anything. But it was being around the guys, being around the hub and not wanting to lose that. And then something presented itself to me. And honestly, it was Bear Handlin and the ethos of Born Primitive. And I was convinced that there was an opportunity in private sector for me to be me, for me to lead. And the things I told them up front was, hey, look, I got to be me. You got to let me be me, and you got to let me build my own team. And I'm going to build my team not the way you see me building it, the way I'm going to build it. And, of course, you're the boss. You own the place. You can give me your guidance and stuff like that, but just let me go. And he did. And, in the first year of BP Tactical, we're crushing it. And now it's being moved to how I run over and outdoor. And having Aaron Snyder as, my point. Yeah. It's a win-win situation. But my point being is that from Bear Handlin and Mallory Handlin, the two co-founders, to me, and then you go through to Aaron, we're all alphas. I mean, straight alphas, and it works, and we're allowed to be our own personality. Now, I've voiced this to Bear multiple times. We are no longer a small business. We are a brand, and we are moving fast. And I think that right now we're at that crucible where every hire that we bring in the building needs to be looked at for their ethos. And the reason I say that is if we change the culture at Born Primitive, we will change the brand. So how do you feel about that one? I mean, that's perfect. If you change you are who you surround yourself with. That's the first thing that you teach your kids. I tell my daughters that all the time. You will become the people you surround yourself with. So if you're surrounded by a bunch of fucking negative, whiny ass, people that just want things handed to them and they say, oh, this is too hard, we should give up here. And then they're coming up with all these stupid ideas. It's just like, that's going to spread. And then that's your brand. Now you're known as the brand that can't fucking get it together. And this industry's small. I mean, once the word gets out that you don't have your shit together, nobody really wants to work with you because they're like, those guys are a fucking nightmare to work with. They don't have any of they're unorganized. There's communication issues. Like nobody's fucking talking. I don't know who the point of communication is supposed to be with that. And that's a lot of businesses run that way. And then they wonder why they just like eventually fade out. It's because you're not operating at the highest level and you're just hiring people just to hire them. Like, no, you have to hire the right people. It's the same with any team. It's the same with any fucking team. Shit rolls downhill. So if the leadership sucks, it's going to trickle down. And then like in the NFL, the players get blamed. So like, the players just aren't good enough. It's like, no, motherfucker, you guys are literally up there. Like at the Broncos, they were fighting over who owned the team. Instead of worrying about winning championships, they're just trying to figure out who's going to make the most money when they sell. That was what it was about. So it was like, instead of like trying to build the best possible team, they didn't care about that anymore. So it was like, and that sucks as a player because I'm out there fucking myself up every fucking day and, taking years off of my career while you guys are up there fucking arguing over $400 million deals. And they sold the team for $4.5 billion. So everybody got 400 million. It's what everybody got. So I was like, you're arguing over that kind of shit. And like, I'm just down here trying to make my fucking. You're in the trenches, trying to grind, trying to do your thing. That's again, and I'm coming out of the community I was in and going into business and private sector. That's the biggest thing that I see right now is I have surrounded myself, everybody underneath me, my team, they think the way I do, they operate. A matter of fact, I have a couple people on my crew that I could get run over by a bus tomorrow and the wheel's not going to stop. And that's how you build something. You know, I just had to let a guy go. And this is the way I am. That person was only able to fill the entry role that they were hired for, and they did not have the potential for growth. When I'm bringing somebody in, I'm bringing them in for growth. I see bringing the right people in and growing my team from within, and having that future development and building that cohesion so that I don't need to be there making all those decisions.
Yeah.
I have leaders now that lead. And you made a comment that I'm going to go back to about you're doing the same thing with your family and your kids. You know, parenting is tough, but here's the deal. You know, I'm on my second marriage, and my second marriage is gold. My first one, I was the authoritarian, and my spouse was the kid's friend.
Yeah.
And that doesn't work. It doesn't work in business. It doesn't work on the foot. You know, you need to put your freaking nose down, lead in, and be straight on with the person. You know, every person I've ever dealt with, they know where they stand with me.
Yeah.
And I think that's important. You know,
I think it is too. It should be that way, because there should be no, if I don't like somebody, it's pretty obvious that I don't like you. Like, I don't make it seem like, oh, I don't trust you. Like, I'm just not going to talk to you. Right. So you're going to notice that, like, oh, he's not even engaging with me. He doesn't like me. Right. There's no question. And it should be that same way with your employees. Right. Like, if your employees are fucking up, you have to let them know. And it's like, oh, Bruno's being a dick. It's like, no, he's holding you accountable. Because if you're not, here's the thing about accountability. If there's no consequence attached to that accountability,
there is none.
Then there is really no accountability. Like, just saying I'm sorry and I won't fuck it up next time. Okay. Well, then next time you fuck it up, you're gone.
Right.
Like, you get, that's the way it works, man. Like, you don't get to fuck up over and over and over and over again and just have a safety net there to save you. Like, that's not the way life is supposed to work. That goes against natural selection completely. Like, it's not the way it works.
Right.
And how are we supposed to rise to the top if we're just letting people fucking leech off of us and, you know, just hang around? And, you know, that, like, you know, we talked earlier about, you have a brand, right? So you have all these ambassadors. So what are these ambassadors actually doing? Are they moving the fucking needle? Like, sorry, but this is a fucking business. And I come from the NFL, where it's a production business, where I'm expected to produce. And I'm going to do whatever I can, because the more you can do, right? I'm going to do whatever I can to produce fucking runs. I'm going to be the best fucking run stopper there is, right? So I did everything. I was like, I'm going to win first and second down, so that on third down, me and Vaughn can fuck these guys up and go get a sack. Like, so I got to do my job. I got to go out there and bust my ass on first and second down so we can earn the right on third down. And it's the same way here is, are you moving the fucking needle, right? I don't care how many fucking Instagram posts you put out. I don't care how many stories you put out. I don't care about any of that shit. When you do something, are you moving the fucking needle?
Yep.
Like, how does that translate to sales? That's all that matters, right? Because you can be the best team member, but sorry, people don't like you. And people don't believe you, and people don't trust you. So people aren't going to buy the shit that you're selling. And that's why a brand is so fucking tricky, because it could be one guy or one gal that, like, people just don't fucking like them. And now that they have a bad taste in your mouth about your brand. And now you've lost out on a whole section of potential demographic, right? Because of one person. It's like that simple, that you have to make. That's why what you're doing is you're picking the right people for the job.
It's funny. It's
and
almost
putting a good team together.
It's almost like you. So I did some counseling yesterday, and it's almost like you listen into exactly my pitch on ambassadors. I'm in the process right now, and this is Aaron's lane, but I'm greatly supervising. Because I think the terminology is community management, managing your ambassadors, managing your business relationships. Well, to me, to grow this brand, I think that you have to start with the basics. You have to have a good product. You have to have a good price point. Okay, that's a given, right? If you don't have that, why are you trying to move on to step B and step C? Well, step B and step C is, how do you get the brand out there? That's what we're doing here at this expo in Salt Lake City at the Western Hunt. Bringing ambassadors out, getting the brand out there, you know, showing everybody who we are. But the whole piece of having to have a fleet of ambassadors and influencers is a bad business model.
Terrible.
It's terrible. I would rather have my, 10 trusted souls that produce, and they know that when they call me, I'm on the other end of the phone going, what do you need? This is a two-way relationship. This is not what have you done for me? This is what have we done together, and we grow together. And that's actually some of the dialogue you and I had. And I'm all about being lean and having a team that like they're not questioning what their role is with Born Primitive. They know what their role is because I'm actively engaging them and they're actively engaging me. And then, oh, by the way, you get that little synergy going. And the next thing you know is that person's reaching out to me with an idea that did not originate in Born Primitive. And you're like, that's freaking gold. Let's roll with it. And what are you building? You're building a freaking enterprise. You're building a team, right?
And it's a culture.
Yeah, it is a culture.
It's a culture. And that's what I love most about Born Primitive. Like the entire culture around it is like everything that I love. It's like a bunch of team guys and gals that are like down for the fucking brand. Like they are down for the brand. Just give an example. I don't know if you could cut this out if you don't want it in, but like that deal with the retailer, right? Like I don't expect anything in return for that.
Right.
I'm part of the fucking team.
Right.
I should be doing that shit. Like what am I supposed to do? Be like, oh, I want a cut of that.
Right.
That's the gayest fucking thing I've ever heard.
Right.
And you fuck off.
Right.
Because that's what we brought you on this team to bring value. Yeah. So that's where I bring value. I could do shit like that, and I can help. Like I never expected that to turn into anything, but I had a conversation with somebody. I was like, hey, I think you guys should carry, BP stuff in your stores. And they were like, oh, okay, you have a connect over there? I was like, sure. Make the connection. Like that's what you're supposed to do as a team member. And
then right back on me is like, I track that and I'm like, okay, so as far as I'm concerned, like now we're looking at productivity. You're bringing in something else that nobody else is bringing in. So what do we do with that? Well, that goes in my mind, that goes in the unique capability. And when I'm looking at what am I doing next year? How are we growing and stuff like that? That honestly falls into the whole plan because you're growing me. I need to grow you. And there's ways for us to do that. And I don't think a lot of businesses do that. You and I have talked away from people. Aaron Snyder has dumped on me so many brands that have taken advantage of him where they squeeze his name, they squeeze out of him. He endorses a product, he goes and field tests it. The needle goes through the freaking roof and he never has a payday and they move on. And then they're like, hey, thanks for your service. And it's like, well, wait a minute. Not me as a business. I'm like, no, sir. Like if you're Aaron Snyder and you're doing that for my business, you need to be rewarded. And oh, by the way, let's go to the next level together. Like, let's not just let's keep doing this and let's turn around one day. And, I would love one day to be sitting there and have the conversation of, I call it fuck you money. Where Born Primitive is doing something like we're out here at Western Hunt and we're, and I don't know where we'll ever, but hey, we're having a freaking fun party, do this, whatever. That's fuck you money. Yeah. That means you're established, you're doing it. We're not there as a brand right now. To be honest with you, what I'm doing on the Capitol is, and people that are not in the goods business don't get this, that when you're growing a brand, you reinvest it all in the brand. You don't take out of the brand.
You're not making anything.
Yeah. I mean, freaking Bear Hanlon's driving an F-150. I have a nicer car than he does. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's fucking eating it.
He's putting it right back in. And if you sit in the conversations we have where, we're looking to up inventory because we're upping sales, and that creates a new problem. Now we need new warehouse space. Well, what people don't realize is when you up inventory, every freaking item in inventory is money not making interest. It's capital, right? And that's what you do is you reinvest in the business, you grow the business, and that's 100% what we're doing. And not to go on a long tirade on that, but when you're trying to grow a brand, there's two ways to do it. You are growing it to frickin' take every little blood thing you can out of it and never get it anywhere, or you're growing it like we're trying to do, where we are a main player and we retain ownership of it and the brand does not get diluted and changed.
Yep.
And I think that's really important, or I wouldn't be here, to be honest with you.
Well, you see a lot of brands that started out great and then they get big and then they go public and shit gets diluted.
Yeah.
It does. It gets diluted and the ethos gets diluted.
Yeah.
And that's sad and it sucks. But, at the same time, as a business owner, you've done all this, like, think about all the fucking time Bear has to just like, eat something, you know, it's like, fuck, man. Like, you know, it's just like every day you're grinding. Yep. Every day you're grinding. Then finally you have an opportunity to fucking actually like reap the rewards of that. It's hard to say no to that, you know? And I understand when people do it, because it is hard to say no to like, hey, somebody's coming in here, they want to buy us for 90 million, 100 million. Well, fuck.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
You know, it's like, well, that now I have to have a question, but then you have to think in your back of your head, well, do we want to be $100 million company or do we want to be $1 billion company?
Right.
You know, that's where you have to think, because with Born Primitive, you have the opportunity with the tactical side to get government contracts. And this new administration coming in is going to want to work with veteran-owned companies. And that's the kind of, I mean, if every fucking operator is wearing Born Primitive, every infantryman is wearing Born Primitive pants and top, and like, you guys make the gear for that. So it's right there for the taking.
Yeah, and we're actually on the cusp of that. Not to really go into that, but we're what's called trade and berry compliant right now. We actually are just got our first couple POs for the Air Force, and that's something I've been working with Mallory, our co-founder, COO, for almost 18 months in the grind, and it's very difficult. But we're there, we're launching it, and you know, we're actually on a really serious campaign with our multicam coming in. But yeah, you're right, it is the next step. And I love Bear's analogy of it. He's like, you know, Bruno's been fishing for tuna and now he's fishing for whales. Yeah. Right. And I'm like, yeah, he's right. And that's the case. But again, you can't dilute it. I want to reel back and talk about something fun. So we have something really in common. Again, two completely diverse careers, but both our spouses are super alphas. Both our spouses compete in the fitness industry. And we were both talking about it. And it's kind of funny because when I started having engagement with you, it was engagement with you and Abby. Yeah. And when she started wheeling in, I'm like, oh my God, she's so much like Amanda. And I was like, okay, this is like perfect for me, because I get this couple, because I'm living this world right there. So let me ask you, because a lot of people wonder how we do it. Tell me how, I mean, and I think it's the only way we can coexist. Tell me how it's two super alphas live under the same roof and can be as close as you are.
It's the same ethos that you take at Born Primitive. We're a team.
Right.
Right. And there's accountability and there's consequences to if there's accountability, there's going to be a consequence to that. And that woman holds me accountable. And my consequence is if I fuck up and do something she doesn't like, I don't get to like, just let it go. No, we're going to fucking talk about this shit, and I'm going to fucking figure out a way to not let that happen again. It doesn't matter what it is. And as much as that fucking, you know, just makes me crazy sometimes, it is making me the best possible version of myself that I can be, you know? And I try to do that. I try to do the same thing with her. It's just different with women. You have to speak to them a different way. You know what I mean? Like, she knows how to get a response out of me. Oh yeah. And I know how to get a response out of her. Right. And it's just, it comes down to respecting each other and to being a team, I treat her like an equal. She is an equal partner in this shit. I don't look at myself as, and I struggled with it at first. So I was like, I earned all this shit. You don't fucking tell me, you know? And it's like, that's a terrible mindset and attitude to have, especially with a strong-willed alpha woman. She will fuck you up. Like, she didn't give a shit about any of that. She was like, look, if we're going to do this shit, we're in it together, because your dumbass mistakes affect me too. And I do have dumbass attacks sometimes where I'm like, I get all excited about something. I just want to dive into it. And she's got to be the one that reels me back and is like, hold on a minute. Let's fucking take a look at what this really looks like and what you're actually getting yourself into before you just dive into some shit. And that's where, you know, we coexist so well, is because, you know, we do everything together. It's my best friend. Yep. Like, we are best fucking friends. You know, it's like, you know, we hang out every night together. We hang out most of the day together. You know, the problem in the NFL is you see a lot of guys get divorced afterwards too, because they're home. Now they're fucking home. And that's why you see a lot of guys going into like media and coaching and all this other shit, because they can't fucking stand just being home and hanging out. Like, they didn't realize that their wife was not that fun to hang out with, you know? But I have a wife that is awesome to hang out with. She loves to do most of the shit other than hunting. She will do literally everything else that I like to do.
You just described my home front. So first of all, I call Amanda the house commander. Because when I roll in, babe. So the biggest thing.
Oh yeah, I'm not the boss. I am not the boss.
And the crazy thing about that is, you know, I went through the same thing. I would come home from a long deployment, and now she's preparing to compete. She's an alpha. She's running that household, and that household is running fine. And then I come home and want to change shit.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, like, and then all of a sudden I get the, hey, you know, what the fuck are you doing type thing. And then you start to realize, you know, everything I'm changing is actually not for the better.
Yeah.
I just want to change shit because I want to be in charge.
Yeah, because you want to be
I want to be the alpha.
You want to be the alpha.
I want to be the alpha,
I'm the man.
you know, and then you start to realize probably the best thing ever told to me, guys, you want marriage advice? I'm going to give it to you right here. It's called choose your battles.
Yeah. That is the best advice.
Yeah. Choose your battles. I mean, the ones like I used to just alpha up, fight, and then we go this 2-3 day, and then we're in the exact same place. Dude, right
those
now.
Those days suck.
Yeah,
too.
They do
they
suck.
Fucking suck. Because
then when
you love this woman.
Yeah.
Like you're my best friend. Quit fucking being mad at me.
Yeah.
All right?
And then when you rejoin, you're like, oh, we're both assholes, you know. And,
yeah.
And then you do it again, you know, 3 weeks later.
No. I'm usually the asshole.
Yeah. But it's funny because in honestly bringing you on board, I so detected my household in your household.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I got to talk about this because I think a lot of people don't realize that two super alphas can coexist and be best friends is exactly what you said there. But man, the other thing that she does that I fucking love is she pushes me.
Yeah.
Like the one thing for me, you know, to be honest with you, the reason I was able to freaking hang on the workout today is if I fucking slack off in the gym, Amanda will be brutal on me. She'll be like, hey, you're getting fat. You're doing this, you're doing that. And she doesn't really mean it. She loves it, but she knows I'm slipping. And she's like coaching and she's prodding and she knows my ego won't handle it.
Yeah.
And she'll push me. And you're right too. Like I've gone down the shiny object road before. Like to be honest with you, the decision to move to Born Primitive, I would have never done it if she wasn't the sounding board. I was scared to death to go into private sector because of who I am.
Yeah.
I figure I'm an HR time bomb. You know, I'm going to last a week. And she's like, go for it. You know, this is probably the only environment you'll ever have. You have a SEAL-owned company. You know, they're about the athlete ethos and all that. She was give it a whirl, and I'd have never taken the step if it wasn't for her. You find yourself in the same way where maybe jumping on the shiny object, and then she redirects you, and the end objective ends up being the best.
Every good idea that I have comes from her.
Okay.
Every single one of them, seriously. And I'm not ashamed to say that. Like I love my wife so much, and I'm so like grateful for her because I get emotional thinking about it, man. Because I would have been so fucked without her. I got so lucky. Like the only way God brought her into my life. Like he literally put her right in front of me at a time when I least expected it. And it was like really fast. It happened really fast. Everybody was like, "You're a fucking idiot. Why are you getting married so quick?" I'm like, dude, because I know this is what I'm supposed to do. Like it just was like, my whole life has been that way. I had every time I make a decision, it's because I fucking know that's the right decision, and I'm gonna live with it. Because there's going to be ups and downs in any decision that you make, right? Like you can always go back and be like, oh, maybe I should have done it this way or that way. But I could say that, but then I'm losing. Yeah, but then I'm also losing gratitude for what I actually have built and done, right? And she reminds me of that shit. Because sometimes I'll be like, man, I should have never took that deal. I shouldn't have done that deal with the Broncos the first time. She's like, are you fucking stop? She's like, you're literally like, you sound like a fucking whiny ass entitled little bitch. Like she tells me that. She will say that. You sound like an entitled whiny little bitch. And I'm like, fuck, she's right. I'm like, I don't want to sound like that. She's like, oh, big alpha male over here fucking crying about the past. Like that's how she is. And I need that because what happens if you're surrounded by a bunch of yes people that just like, oh, you're always right no matter what, then that doesn't bring out the best in you. Right. No. And she sees how I like to be coached. Like my defensive line coach that I've responded to best got after my fucking ass every day. And that's how I respond. Like, you got to stay on my ass. I want to be coached. So she like, you know, it's just like everything, you know, it's like, hey, don't just like walk over the fucking clothes on the floor. Yeah. Pick them up. And I'm like, fuck, she's right. You know?
Yeah.
It's like, you can't argue about that.
No, and I have similar story on the whole courtship. You know, I came off a not happy divorce. And I literally had a mission to go through life where not only would I never be married ever again, but I just wanted to be with every, attractive woman there was and just move through life that way. And totally ran into my lady. She's in a gym. I'm in a gym. Neither of us lived in the city we're at. And we just started rapping a little bit. And it went into some long distance communication. And like literally God put her in my life for a reason, because there's no reason we should have ever met. We should have never been at the same place at the same time.
Bruno, I'm going to stop you right there because I want you to go back to where we can relate is that long distance communication. You can really get to know somebody and find. I looked anytime that like a notification came across on my phone and I saw her name on it, I got excited. And I like would spend like, I used to think it was so lame when these guys would just be on the fucking phone with their girlfriends for hours. I'm like, God, what the fuck, dude? You're so, what a loser. But then it's because I didn't understand what it was like, and our connection happened on that long distance time when we spent together. Then when we got to come together, it was like,
boom,
fucking fireworks, man. And it's just like, a lot of people don't get to experience that because they don't make themselves vulnerable enough to do it. And I'm man enough I'm a father of daughters, man. Like I'm soft as shit now. Like it's just the way it is. I'm so soft in my house now. Like
you think you are, but you're not.
Well,
you think
I know.
You are.
Well, you know what I'm saying? Like I don't have to, it's not like being with boys where you're being rough with them all the time and stuff. Like I have to navigate my household as a man now. I don't get to just bully my way through shit. Like I can't just muscle my way out of this. I have to like negotiate myself into a situation. I've gotten myself in a situation here. I'll give you an example. My 5-year-old daughter the other day is telling me that I don't listen to her feelings and she doesn't feel heard and I don't care about her feelings. And I was like, I so badly wanted to just be like, stop it. You're 5 years old, go to bed. Like it's bedtime. But instead I had to be like, okay, the manly thing to do here would be to sit down and have a conversation and ask her why she thinks she's feeling that way. And what can I do to make her feel heard? It's a 5-year-old.
Right.
And it's like, she sounds just like her damn mother,
Yep. Oh yeah.
And it's like, that's where I learned something that day. Cause it was like, because sometimes when it's coming from your spouse, it comes off as an attack when really they're just trying to express their feelings to you and how you're making them feel. And that can come off as you can get defensive about that, or you can decide like, okay, let me come from a place of love. And I learned something that day. And that's those things stick with me. Now I could take those same tactics and use that same empathy on my wife, because that's what they want. They want you to feel empathy for the way that you've made them feel. And a lot of times I just take it as like, oh, you're trying to attack me. And that's not what it is. But I wanted to go back to, sorry, we went off on a tangent, but that long distance relationship and those conversations, like I'll always cherish that, and that's why sometimes when I'm like on like a long hunt, man, I fucking miss the shit out of my wife. Like I just miss being around her. And like, even just a couple days gone, like I'm so attached to her, and it's just like, that's my road dog, So.
No, I totally get it. And, so Amanda had never been around military culture. And we did this long distance communication, and then we got together, and to be honest with you, it went 4 weekends in a row of flying her to me, and we just went crazy. And then I blew out on a deployment, and it was actually to go invade Iraq. And she wasn't used to the military culture and, the organization I was in, we were freaking off comms and getting after it. And she didn't get a call for like 70 days. And I remember standing in the middle of a freaking desert somewhere, just fucking on an Inmarsat. And she's like, oh, you're alive. And you could tell she was put off. Like, oh, you're, and I'm like, no, you don't fucking get it. This is the first phone call I've made in, 81 days. And it's you. And then, then I came home, and it took a little while to fucking make her like understand my culture, because she had never been exposed to it.
Well, I'm sure she wasn't sure if that was for her. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because that was her first experience on it.
Oh yeah.
And it takes a strong woman to be able to just fucking hold it down while you're gone, and not even able to communicate. Like
it even goes further. Like now we're together for quite a long time, and I have this fucking elaborate engagement. We're flying to Vegas. I literally had the Eiffel Tower at Paris rented out. And we get a call. Hey, we're going to go fucking hunt number one overseas in Afghanistan. We've got him. I called her up and I'm like, we're not going to Vegas in 2 weeks. I need you to fly here now. And she thinks I'm going to break up with her or something. And I'm sitting there with this fucking diamond ring and no plan. And I do this ad hoc proposal and I'm like, what the fuck do I do here? And she said yes. And then I looked at her and I said, and I don't know when I'm calling you again. And I blew back out again.
Yeah.
And so her welcome to our community was freaking a punch in the face.
Yeah.
But she got used to it. And I think because she was such an alpha, and just so strong, she just moved on and dealt with it. And she was the biggest one when I made a transition to kind of like, all right, I'm going to freaking retire off active duty, but I'm going to stay with this one organization I was with and go to a government civilian role. She's like, are you ready? Like, are you going to be able to fucking handle this? This is what you're built for. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, I think it's time. And then I realized a year or two into it, no, it wasn't time. I fucking should have stayed on active duty. But you know, how many years can you go? I was already in it for 3 decades, right? So it's been one of those things like when you and I were talking, I'm like, man, I mean, he's an athlete. I'm a military guy, but it's the fucking same thing,
It's
right?
the same. It's the same mindset. It goes back to what we talked about in the beginning. Mindset.
100%.
We have the same mindset, and when you can connect with somebody with the same mindset as you,
Yep.
it's a special thing, man. It really is. And you know, what I wanted to talk about was so how that happened for you. How you had to just like you get engaged and then you're fucking gone again, and then she's kind of running the fucking show while you're gone, right? And then you come back and you want to change shit. It was the same. Think about like in the NFL, it is a full-time fucking job and it consumes your fucking life. Like it consumes nothing else. For you to perform at that level, there can't be anything else that matters. So it's always been that way for me. So she had to come into a marriage. She had to get married to a guy who was already married to a game. I was married to the game. Like that's all I fucking did and cared about was winning fucking games and fucking Viking crush, kill everything. Like that's who I was and that's how I operated. But she brought out like this other side of me, you know, and because I didn't have a good mother. I never felt like a mother's love. So I didn't know what unconditional love really was. So she like gave me a little taste of that. And then she already had a daughter. So I had a stepdaughter who like fucking loved the shit out of me. And I was like, holy shit, this is fucking crazy feeling, you know? I was like, this is what I've been chasing. Like all that fucking chasing women and chasing cars and chasing fucking diamond watches and diamond chains and all this other, none of that shit means anything. This is what I want. And then it was the craziest fucking thing. Like I get done in the NFL, she literally had to do everything. My job was to just go play football and earn the checks. And she fucking handled the rest. And it was like, holy shit. I didn't realize how amazing of a job she really was doing until I retired. And I saw when I was home with her and I saw how much shit she was doing, like the mental load that she had to take on while I did that is overwhelming. Like makes me feel overwhelmed to think about it all. She's building fucking cabins and building a house here and doing this investment over here. And then she's got the kids are in school and then she's got to figure out what school they're going to and making lunches. And I'm like, holy fuck, you are like
a machine,
a fucking machine.
Right.
You know, and then I retire and I want to be like, no, let's do this and let's do that. I'm like trying to change shit. And she's like, no, motherfucker, this is the plan. This is what we talked about. You're not changing the fucking plan just because you're bored. Like, you know, this is what we're doing.
So we both can agree that we needed adult supervision.
1,000%. 1,000. My wife's 6 years older than me too.
Yeah.
And I needed somebody that was like gonna lead. I need a little bit of guidance on shit because I can lead, but I also need somebody that can like bring my feet back down and make sense of everything that's going on around me.
That's something I've always said. So I went, and this doesn't happen anymore, and it's a shame. But I went in the military because I was a pretty, you know, I played high school ball and I had aspirations to go to college, but I was a pretty violent fucking kid, and I used to throw down first and ask second, and I got in some trouble, hurting some guys and stuff. So I was given an option, join the service or go somewhere else. And I joined the service. And then moved through later, you know, Amanda comes into my life. So I've always told people, if you want to know me in 2 sentences, the military saved me from prison, literally, and Amanda saved me from myself. Because, dude, talk about just self-destructive. And, you know, you're talking about gold chains and stuff. Like, I became a deployment junkie. Like I just wanted to be deployed. I just wanted to be overseas, in the hunt, in the game. And what I was doing at that time, you know, at a pretty senior level as a flight lead, is I got to go where the action was. So I wasn't going, like, if Afghanistan was slow and Iraq was booming, guess where I'm going? Yeah. You know, and I'd get there and you roll in on the crew because this community is so freaking small. You roll in, you know, everybody by name that's there. I mean, I can tell you, I freaking stepped off a C-17, which is a big transport aircraft, and walked into a joint operations center and had the guy I was replacing hand me the plan for the night. And an hour later, I'm rolling out in the door on targets. And it was just like, you know, just like passing the baton, like, here we go. And fuck, that's what we do, right? Yeah. And I'll tell you, I would say that mentality to me is probably like you being in the playoffs. If the playoffs could never end, you'd probably be there, right? Oh yeah, that's the best. It's the best. You have to go through this fucking grueling marathon of a fucking season that starts in April. Like, you do OTAs in April, which is fucking, they suck. Cause it's like basically like a mini training camp that you go through. And it's, you know how it is. It's not the training itself. It's the fucking meetings and the hurry up and wait and do this and do, like, that shit just fucking makes me, it's wasting time makes me fucking crazy. Like, it does. It makes me fucking crazy. And I have a house full of women. So I've learned how to be patient with that, you know, but I used to be like, come on, let's fucking go. We got to hurry up. But man, it just drove me fucking nuts how much time we wasted. Like, why are we wasting time? You know? And when we had coaches that like didn't waste time and we came in, got our shit done and got the fuck out of there, those were the best teams we ever had, because there was no wasted time. We weren't just doing shit just to do it. Like, we had intention on everything we were doing. But man, it would get so grindy. And then you go through April and then you have like a little 2-week break in the summer. And that's where you can go like on a little trip or whatever. So we go on like a trip, but on that trip, I have to have a place to train. Right. So I'm fucking training the whole time we're there. I'm never actually relaxing and chilling out with and connecting with my wife. Like, yeah, maybe for a few hours, but most of the morning I'm spent training. And then, yeah, but you don't just get to like let loose and like let it all go and get away from it. And then you come back and you go straight to fucking training camp. And then you're gone. You're fucking gone. Like, I'm gone from 6 a.m. till 9 at night for fucking 4 weeks. And sorry, but I'm unavailable. Like, yeah, I'm emotionally unavailable. And then that rolls right into a fucking season to where it's, you play on Sunday, you do recovery on Monday, and then you lift on Monday, you do recovery, you do watch the film, then you have like half the day off on Monday. So now you can go on like a little date night on Monday. All right. But I'm not fucking engaged in that date. I'm thinking about, I'm fucked up right now. I can't even walk. You know, I got to get ready for a full padded practice on Wednesday. And now I got a full padded practice on Wednesday, another practice on Thursday with pads on. And then Friday's like a shell practice where we're just helmets and shoulder pads, and it's like a fast Friday type of deal. And Saturday's walkthrough. Now I'm playing again on Sunday, and I got to do that for 17 fucking weeks. And there's no fucking break. There's a bye week in there, and you want to go do something for the bye week? Well, guess what? I gotta have to have a place to fucking train while we're doing that. And oh, by the way, we can't leave anywhere for the bye week now because I fucking rolled my ankles the size of a fucking grapefruit. So I have to stay and do fucking treatment on it. They won't let me leave. And so now she's like, fuck you. This sucks, you know? And then you get to the playoffs and now the fun starts. But you're fucked up. You're limping into those fuckers. Like, you are limping into the playoffs. But everything's on the line. So you just fucking do it, man. And it's crazy what you can put yourself through and wake up and do it again the next day and the next day and the next day. And then eventually, man, it was like, she just was like tired of watching me crawl to the fucking shower. Honestly, she was like, she's like, this is fucking awful to watch you crawl to the fucking shower. And then when she saw me dislocate my elbow, that like fucking
that messed with her a little bit, you know. And then I was paralyzed on the field before. She wasn't around then, but she like was always afraid of that happening again because I had a seizure later. It was like I almost died a couple times from that, and I was paralyzed and played 2 weeks after it. It was just.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a fucking gladiator sport, man. Like, it's not for everyone, and you know what you're signing up for. So, like, you're gonna play hurt. That's just the way it goes. Are you injured or are you hurt? Because if you're just hurt, you're playing. If your fucking limb is hanging off or something and your ligaments are torn and shit, but can you play?
The best analogy I ever heard of defensive players. We got very close at the last command I was at to the New England Patriots, and it started off where they were coming down to see how on the human performance side, we were rehabbing from combat injuries to see if they could we were using float tanks and things like that nobody'd seen in the NFL at the time. And they wanted to see if they could do it with players to get them back in the game sooner. So they were coming down. So Bill's in a small room with us, and he asked the question of, hey, I'm really curious about how you guys screen for people, the most elite operators and stuff like that. And it was funny, like 6 people were ready to answer, but an officer answered, and he was probably the only one that didn't have the real answer. He gave like a politically correct answer, like he was briefing a 4-star admiral or something like that. And everybody kind of looked at him, and Bill just looks and he goes, yeah, I couldn't have that. I wouldn't have a defense.
Yeah.
He goes, I need fucking criminals. I need gangsters. I need fighters. He goes, that may work on the offense, but it would never work on the defense.
It's a total
and we pulled him aside later and said, dude, that is not what we screen for. I mean, we need the fucking Viking blood in a guy. The person that told him came off a little too wholesome is, kind of the message.
Yeah.
There. So
I understand what he's doing though. You know what I mean? He's got to give like a politically correct answer.
But it was hilarious. He's like, no, I need gangsters.
Deion Sanders said the same thing. He's like, look, I want my quarterback to come from a nice family with both parents in that household. He's like, I want my fucking defensive tackle to come from a single parent home fucking from the hood. Like, that's what he said. He's like, you need a because it's a mentality. It's a killer mentality. It really is. Like, I'm here to fuck you up. Like, and you might get me, but I'm going to get you way more than you get me. Like, that's the mindset.
Right.
Like, I'm trying to win every fucking snap and wear your ass out. That way in the fourth quarter, whenever you're fucking dog ass tired and I don't look tired and it's just going to fuck with your brain, I'm going to drag you to that deep end. And I'm going to fuck you up. Like, that's just the mentality I took, was like, I'm here to fuck you up. And I don't care about anything else other than fucking running my fucking face mask through the bottom of your chin and locking you out and making your fucking head snap like that. Like, that's what I want to see. And then I'm going to shed off and I'm going to go fuck the running back up. And then I'm going to get up and howl. And then I'm going to go do it again and again and again and again. And then you're going to be like, man, this motherfucker just doesn't stop.
Yeah. So the irony of that is Jerry, who's our producer, is sitting off camera here, asked him to make a sizzle reel when we brought Derek on as an ambassador. And I'm like, I want 3 specific things in it. I said, I want to lead in with his NFL play. I said, please have a really good sack in there. And then I said, of course, I want the mountain lion because we're bringing him into the outdoor side, and then whatever you want. Of course, Jerry knows I'm a Pats fan, so he had to have him freaking sacking Tom Brady and laying him out. And I'm like, you motherfucker.
I got Tom a bunch, man. I played against him a lot. Like, we played against each other almost every year I was in the league. And I got him as a rookie. And I got him again the next season. The next season we were up in Foxborough in 2013. We were beating, maybe it was 2014. Yeah, we were beating them 21-0.
I was at the game. It was the fucking coldest game in Foxborough.
That motherfucker
ever.
Came back and won.
Yeah, and I was.
It was colder than fuck, dude. I don't know if you saw, but I fucked him up that game.
You did.
Dude. I couldn't believe he got up.
Yeah.
I mean, I hit him and landed all 310 pounds on him, and he just was like, and just like fucking acted like nothing happened. Yeah, because he is the ultimate competitor, man. I loved playing against him.
Dude, that dude is so awesome. But that game, I've been to a lot of Pats games up there, and was with a really good crew, a mix of Boston PD SWAT guys that we would go to all the games with, and then some of us from Virginia Beach from the command down there. And I just remember how cold the game. Somebody put a beer on the hood of my vehicle. And when we came out from the game, it was frozen to the hood. And we drove home with a frozen beer on the hood the whole way because we couldn't get it off.
Dude, those cold games on the turf too. Oh, it's just like you're playing on fucking concrete. Yeah. You can't feel your fingers and your toes are fucking numb. And it hurts to breathe because it's just fucking frozen. It's like freezing in your lungs, it feels like. Man, it sucks. I played in a game that was even colder than that in 2012 in the playoffs. It was negative 14, and it was fucked.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about this the other day. There's not a guy. It comes from my community that wants to be any of these three things: cold, wet, or hungry.
Yeah,
those are the three things you get over really quick. And it's kind of funny, like if you really deep dive it. None of the Army Special Forces guys ever want to go fucking camping, and none of the Navy SEALs ever want to go with their family to the beach.
Yeah.
It's just like they're past that.
They had enough of that shit.
Yeah, they had enough of that shit. So big question for you. Before you're a rookie, and this is just because I'm a huge fan, and I know a lot of people listening will be, who was, when you first came in the league, who was the player you looked up to the most?
I was really lucky because the day I got drafted, the first message I got was from Peyton Manning. And Peyton was the ultimate professional and the ultimate leader and the ultimate, like, never made you. This motherfucker's game checks were like, this motherfucker showed up in a Buick. All right. Like, he didn't act like he was fucking making any more money than the practice squad guy. He talked to the janitor just like he talked to his fucking star #1 receiver. He talked to everybody the same and treated everybody the same and got to know everybody on that team. And he didn't treat himself. He never acted any like he was special or that that motherfucker was the first one in the building and the last one to leave. And when he was there, he was engaging with everybody. He used to have breakfast with me every morning because he knew that, like, I need my defense and the guys on the defense to fucking, shut their run game down so that they can't control the clock. So he just would, like, talk to you about shit, man. Like, anytime I, like, fucked up and made a mistake, like, it didn't matter about on the field. It was about, like, off the field dumb shit that I would do. He'd be like, hey, man, like, I get it, but just so you know, man, like, you have potential to be a really good player in this league. So don't fuck it up. And I'm like,
that's kind of awesome.
Yeah.
Right?
And he would say shit like that to you. And it was just like, fuck, man. And then after that, it was DeMarcus Ware. Once DeMarcus Ware joined the team, he took my game to a whole nother level. And then I had a really good coach come in, Bill Kolar, who coached JJ Watt and plethora of fucking Hall of Fame guys. And he played 10 years himself. But he just pushed me so fucking hard and was like, brought the best out of me. So it just is like, man, it takes, like, it's a bunch of different guys. But for when I first came in, man, it was Peyton. That's who I was like, that's the fucking guy. Elvis Doomerville was another guy. I don't know if you know that name.
Sure do.
But Doom is like, we had the same defense line coach in college. So, like, we had that kind of connection, and he just saw the dog in me and was like, yep, I like this fucking guy. And because when I got drafted there, I was third string. And by game one, I had taken both of their fucking spots.
That's all. I love hearing that. So now you're in the league, and I'm going to tell you again, no secret, Pats fan. And I used to hate seeing you and fucking Von Miller is all I'm going to say right now. Cause there was a run going on there. And to me as a fan, the only thing I ever feared with the Pats was going into Denver and that defense. And of course, when Peyton was there, it's like, this is every other game. I just felt we could win. Yeah. I just was like, we can win this. And it's funny, Amanda, she's the biggest Pats fan on earth. She doesn't like Peyton Manning, not because she doesn't like Peyton Manning, because she fucking knows he could beat us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was just that relationship there. But so now coming out of the back end, when you look back in, who was the guy you most liked being next to on the field? I mean, and I mean in a, like, that fucking person you just looked at, and it's like, let's go be assassins.
It was Vaughn.
It was Vaughn.
Yeah. I mean, me and Vaughn, we did it for 8 years together next to each other. We had 136 sacks together in the regular season.
Okay. I was making an assumption it was, but I just wanted to hear it. So
and it was what you said there about how we had a nonverbal communication where we had a game system that we ran on tackles and guards. anywhere from where I would shoot that B. If you don't know with football, but there's a B gap in between the guard and tackle. I would shoot that B gap and fucking drive up field and push the tackle up and pick off of it. And then Vaughn would wrap around me and we would fuck him up that way. And then I would fake like we were going to do that, give the tackle a little tug on the shoulder pad and spin back inside. And Vaughn would just swoop right around him. Then we would do another one where I would act like I was doing an inside move, bring the guard down. Vaughn would come in there and just fucking hammer the guard and ricochet off of him, and I'd wrap around and cover him. Then we had another one called the bar where I just like occupied the guard and let Vaughn do his thing. And then I covered him if he missed. Like that. And so we did that. But it was all based on hand signals and just like, and it was all because we knew when the slide was coming to us. And when I say the slide, I know that there's going to be, instead of 2 guys blocking, it's going to be 3 guys. And a lot of times they would use 4 and we would still get them because they would use a running back or a tight end to chip him and the tackle, a guard, and a center. And then sometimes the running back would even slide up in there and try to stop us. So they'd use like 4 or 5 guys to try to get us. And that means DeMarcus Ware and Malik Jackson are going to win if you guys do that dumb shit. So,
right.
it was like they couldn't stop us, but it was man. And we would look at each other because we would hear the mic call from the center. He's calling out where he's sliding. He has to because it's loud as fuck, and he's screaming, where he's sliding to, so that the other guys know that they got the one-on-ones. Me and him know we got a one-on-one. We know what we've done the last couple times. We know what we're doing now, and we would go. And because they're looking at us, like waiting for us to show them what we're gonna do. And I would just look at him, and he'd be like, "Yep," and I'm like, "All right. I know exactly what the fuck we're doing here." And it was just crazy how we could feed it. But that takes so much time and repetition. And because we're doing that every day in practice, we're doing that every day in like meetings, we're talking about it. Hey, when we see the right tackle's right heel up higher, you really see it up. It's like a half an inch. You could see it. We're running this game. So whenever I see it, I'm looking at you, and that's what we're doing. And we fucked them up in the Super Bowl because we had a read on their right tackle. And Vaughn went out there, got the MVP.
That's awesome.
And I was like, I told him, I said, "You're going to get the MVP of this on this fucking guy." And he was like, "I know, dude. I'm fucking
eat him alive.
I'm going to eat him alive, dude." He just went crazy because we knew.
So was that Super Bowl win the most rewarding moment ever on the field, or was there something else?
Yeah, because, well, there's a couple. When it comes to rewarding, it's different. A lot of people never get to live their dream, right? 99.9% of people don't get like what they say they're going to do when they're 7 years old. They don't go and do it. They don't. It's just, life, genetics, all this other stuff happens. Like it doesn't happen, or you just quit. For me, when I was 7 years old, I watched Reggie White and the Green Bay Packers and Brett Favre win a fucking Super Bowl, and Reggie White was running around with a Lombardi trophy, and he had the Super Bowl hat on, and he had his T-shirt, his Super Bowl championship T-shirt over his pads, and he was like walking around with his doing that, and I was like, that's what I want to do. That sparked it for me, and I was like, that's what I want to do, and I just chased that, dude, and I got to do it. Like, there's a fucking picture of me with my pads on and the shirt over with the hat on, holding the Lombardi up. Like, I got to do it. I did it. It's like, it was so surreal because I was like, holy fuck. Like, this was really what the whole dream was. Like, all the other shit didn't really matter. The money, none of that. It was this moment. But another moment was in 2019, after my daughter was born, getting to like be in my pads and like hold my daughter on the field and her like be there with me. It was, you want to talk about like pulling the power of fucking God out of you. Like, I was taking tackles and guards and fucking just burying them into the quarterback. It was so crazy. I felt so strong, and like I had to like, I don't know, it was weird. It was a weird feeling. And that was like super rewarding for me to come out of that game. Like, I got their fucking quarterback benched, and
that's awesome. I love it.
Yeah, it was that was another moment. It's just a different, rewarding moment. But winning that Super Bowl, man, was, there's nothing that compares. There is no comparison to that. Like, there's things that are different from that, like the birth of children and all this other stuff. But to reach the goal that you set as a child, and you think of, and then when I think about it now, I think about all the days that I wanted to fucking quit and I didn't, all the days where I was like, man, I'd rather go party with my boys and go hang out and do this and that. Nope. I got to get up and train, and that's carried me on to life now. Like, last night, bunch of guys wanted to go out and have fun. I was like, no, man, I got to work out in the morning. Like I'm going back and going to get some sleep so I can like, you know, be a part of the team and not be a fucking drag on the team. And that's like, that's important to me.
You brought it this morning. I love it. So no, I love hearing that because there are so many. So the thing I want to hinge on there is the quitting thing. You know, the big thing to me is when I talk to people that are uber successful, it's all about drive. It's all about never giving up. You know, in the military, we use that no fail mentality, and there's failure somewhere if you really look deep in it. But never quitting is a different thing. And then once you quit, it's a disease. You can quit easily at anything after that. And you see people like I've seen the world's best operators that either physically, maybe not mentally, you know, but I've seen them where they just didn't have their head in the right place. And you're like, this guy has got the genetics. He's got the gift. This guy can shoot, fly, whatever it is, right? But he doesn't have the mindset. And he can't lock on. And the guy's done. And he's away. And you forget about him because he wasn't part of that core of people. I'm sure the NFL is the same way. That's why I think
exactly that way.
Isn't like the average span of an NFL career like 3 years?
2.5.
2.5 years. And I mean, and then you got guys like you and I mean, to play, you know, if somebody plays a decade in the trenches like you, I mean, again, you've kind of described the grind here. To me, the first time I ever really respected what you're doing was the first time I stood on the sideline of an NFL game and got to see it not on TV, live, that far away from me. And I'm like, these motherfucking 300-pound dudes are fast and they are violent.
Yeah.
And the TV does not, it does not give you that.
It doesn't.
So
it doesn't show it to you. And you can't hear the sounds that are happening either.
Right.
You can't hear the impacts.
Right.
Because when you got to think, when you have two guys trying to move you. So they're coming off the ball trying to fucking get you out of there. And you hold your point and you split that. You split them and you throw one off. And then the running back is coming straight at you. The impact of that, and it's a fucking man-on-man thing, right? He's got a 5-yard head start. Derrick Henry has a 5-yard head start. He's a 250-pound, 6'3" motherfucker. Like, he is a fucking tank. He's coming at you at a full, like, he's just getting his full sprint. He's trying to run your ass over. I always had a thing. I am not going to get pushed backwards. Like, when I'm tackling somebody, he's the one going backwards. So now I've done all that. And this all happens in 6 seconds, less than 6 seconds. It's like a boom, boom. You split it and then pow. And then the impact of that, a lot of people, what happens when that impact happens is they stop. But it takes a different kind of guy for when that impact happens to keep driving. And that's what made me a good run stopper is because when that impact happened, now I'm fucking awake. Like, right. Now I'm alive. Like, and I did a good job most of the time of tackling with my body and using my body to tackle and not just my head and like taking headshots. But like, you're going to get, it's just, it happens, you know, you get hit in the fucking head and whatever, you know, you just have, that's part of the game. It happens and you try to prevent it and you try to play safe, but you can't play safe and violent at the same time. Sorry. There's a way to be smart about it and not duck your head. But at the end of the day, man, like when you're fucking in the shit, when the shit gets crazy in there and you just got to make something happen, it's going to happen, man. And that's how I always took it was like, I'm not going to get fucking driven backwards. Like this is going to be a 0-yard gain at best. It might not be a TFL, but it'll be a fucking 0-yard gain. And that's what I was the best run stopper in the league for 9 straight years. And that's how you do it. It's taking that mentality of every mindset fucking down because it was born into me in college that you earn third down. So you want to get sacks and fucking look cool and do your little sack dance? Well, guess what, motherfucker? You got to nut up on first and second down because that's the hardest part of the game is the first and second down inside run. It's you versus me. Like, that's what it is. It's who's got more fucking grit. And that's what we do. We do those drills every Wednesday. It's called 9 on 7. It's 9 of them versus 7 of us. And we're going to stop these motherfuckers. And then you get to a game and it's easy. It should feel easy by the time you get to a game. Just like when you train for a mission, right? When you're training for any of that shit, it should feel fucking muscle memory, right? When you get there, like you shouldn't have to think.
And the idea, and this is a fucking principle, is that, I mean, we need to set our guys up for failure and not let them always win in our business, and make it fucking hard and use our own tactics against our own guys, so you don't win easy. So that when you get over there, it's fucking domination.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Did you have anything in your locker that, you know, fucking just inspired you, something in there that you visually looked at and kind of just locked onto? Because I know some other players that used to do stuff like that.
For me, it's every day that I walk in that locker room and I go to grab my helmet, that's an NFL fucking logo. It's not
that's enough, right?
It's enough, man.
Yeah.
You're at the highest level, dude. So fucking show up. Like, don't take this shit for granted, because I always knew that it was going to come to an end. Right. So I just tried to like fucking embrace that shit every day. Like, even when I didn't fucking want to do it, like, I just like, man, this sucks. Like, this is going to suck. But guess what? I'm happy to be. Where else would I rather be? Nowhere. There's nowhere I'd rather be. Honestly, where else would I be? I could be fucking working some shit job or in fucking prison somewhere, or, you know, doing something I hate. You know, I'm doing what I love. So fuck, man. Every day I walked in there and I saw that an NFL logo. It wasn't about the name. It was about, fuck, dude, I'm on an NFL team. I play in the NFL I'm playing at a high level in the NFL. Like, that's the fuck, dude. I didn't take that for granted, man. Cause I knew one day the way that I play the game, it wasn't going to last forever, man. It wasn't going to be no 15-year, 20-year career. That just wasn't in the cards.
Friggin' went pretty damn long for the way you play. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah. 10 years was it was a grind, man. And I luckily got out of it without having to pay too big of a price. I've done the work with my brain to get it right, but, you know, injury wise, you know, I'm lucky I didn't lose my fucking, I bruised my spinal cord. And if I didn't have as much spinal fluid around my spinal cord, it would have been severed. They said, so even for somebody my size, I have twice as much spinal fluid around my spinal cord than I should normally have. So instead of a severed spinal cord, I got a concussed spinal cord, and shut the lights off for 3 hours. And I was on the field again 2 weeks later.
Insane.
And then played for 12 weeks, and then I had a seizure because I wasn't getting fresh blood in my brain. But because they were like, oh, it's just a stinger. I was like, well, I was paralyzed. Like, my mouth wouldn't move. And they're like, yeah, you're fine. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, you're fine.
If you say so.
Well, I mean, it's a whole nother thing. I mean, and again, until I got close to some coaches and some players, I didn't realize what a business the NFL is. So I'm glad you came out the back end the way you did.
Yeah.
And that's huge. So I hate to do this, but both of us have to catch flights.
Yeah.
We're absolutely loving to be in Black Rifle Coffee's podcast room. We thank them for allowing us to use it. Been out here for the Western Hunt Expo. I can assure you that we're going to pick this up again. We never even got to talk about the mountain lion kill, which if you have not looked at, I mean, Derek's no small dude. And when he holds it up, the thing, you know, it's all the way up on his chest and it fucking just touches the ground. And it's a great story. So we'll get there and we'll get a lot of other cool places. But
I mean, I could tell that story so quick right now.
Let's hear it.
All right. So my buddy runs hounds, and he was like, hey dude, you want to kill a mountain lion? You want to go try to find a mountain lion? I was like, yeah, let's do it. So he's like, all right, tomorrow morning, you know, meet me here at, 5 a.m. I'm like, all right, I'll be there. So I show up, we get dumped on with snow. So it's like perfect conditions to go find a mountain lion. So we drive around with the hounds, finally cut some tracks. Long story short, this lion was living up under this guy's porch and hunting the river bottom or the creek bottom and going back and forth. And it smelled like death up under that porch. And we got a hold of the guy finally, and he was like, hey, can you kill that lion for me? And I was like, yeah. So we took off after this lion and sent the hounds on him. And we were hoping that he'd be just at the top of the hill. But no, of course not. The whole way up the hill, I was slipping on the first climb. I was like, this is going to be fucked. Hopefully he's up here. And we get up there and I'm slipping and sliding everywhere. And it's steep, nasty, rocky shit. We get to the top and he dumped off the other side. So we dump off the other side. And then him and the hounds just take off. So I'm just following them, from way behind. Like, I'm starting to really lag behind now. And I'm I'm like post holing through like, I don't know, 2-3 feet of snow. At some points it's up to my fucking chest. Like I'm swimming in snow basically. And then I climb back up the other side, up that hill again. So it started at 9,000. So it's a 2,000 foot climb pretty much to get all the way up there, you know, and I get all the way up there, or from the road, it's 2,000 feet. From there, it was like, I think it was like 700 feet. I climbed back up, and then he sent me a pin, said, come to this pin. And I dropped to that pin. It was on the fucking road. I was like, dude, I'm on the fucking road. And I'm at this point, dude, I am cramping everywhere. Like my forearms are cramping. My rib cages are cramping. Like I'm dumping sweat, and it's cold. I can't take off my layers. I will fucking get hypothermia or something. Like I got to keep my layers on. Finally, he drops me the real pen. It's 900 yards up through like the devil's ass crack. Like it is fuck. There's like deadfall everywhere, and it's fucking like in a cut, right? And it's just straight up. So I was like, I'm coming. He's like, you're not going to make it up here. I was like, yeah, I'll make it up there, dude. I'll be there. And I crawled because I couldn't walk. Every step I took, dude, everything was locked up. So I crawled up there and shot that lion right in the fucking chest with a bow. And he hit the ground dead. We get down there, and I was like, let's get this. I didn't want to take a picture. I didn't want to do it. I was like, I don't care. I'm not taking a picture. And he was like, dude, this is a fucking giant. You got to show how big he is compared to you. So the first time I went to pick him up, I was like, oh, fuck.
This
I had
a freaking
like,
monster. I
had to like regrit. I had to get up under his belly and lift him up, and he fucking his head just like smacked me in the forehead. And I like knock his head off, and I'm like, that's why in the picture you see me like, I'm like, take the fucking picture, you know? And he takes the picture, and I fucking drop that line. We gut him out. And I put him in my packs, like hanging out the sides. And he just is like, all right, dude, I'll see you at the truck. And he fucking leaves me. And I had to crawl backwards down out of that same shit I just climbed up. On my hands and knees, I climbed backwards down that fucking.
How big is this thing? I mean, I've obviously.
I mean, I don't know what he weighed. I just know that he was. I know what 200-pound motherfucker feels like, and he was every bit of that, and probably more. And he was 8.5 feet from nose to tail.
Yeah, huge.
Yeah,
monster.
And his paws were like fucking. My hand. My hand is 11.5 inches from here to here, and my fucking hand, like minus my thumb, it fit easily inside of his paw prints in the snow.
So I kind of didn't have any bucket list items left. And I saw those pictures and heard the story. And I got with the boys at Viking Armament, who they do a lot of chasing lions. Mm-hmm. And we worked out a deal where I'm going to go get me a lion. Probably not going to be till January, but those pictures, I'm like, I want one. So I'm going to probably do it. They do a lot off horseback and all that. And my big thing is I'm not a bow hunter. That's
you don't have to do it.
I'm gonna do it with a pistol.
Well, because it's smart to have a pistol with you, because they sometimes get caved up. They get denned up in a cave where they're bait in a cave by the hounds, and you can't just sling arrows into a cave. That's dumb. Like yeah. You also you owe the animal the respect of taking his life in the most efficient way you possibly can. Right? If we're gonna kill this lion, we're gonna kill him in the best possible way we can. Right. And that's the kind of way that I take it with any kind of hunt that I go on. I'm not going to take a questionable shot every time that I do take a questionable shot, I fucking regret it because I wound them and something, or they don't die fast. And you don't want that to happen, man. That animal is living its best life, and you're deciding to take that animal's life. You owe it the respect it deserves. To do it in the most fast and efficient possible way. And I like to bow hunt because it's harder and I'm less successful because of it. But if you're a rifle hunter, I respect the hell out of that, because you're fucking putting that animal down quick. Like there is no fucking blood trailing usually with a rifle. So there's nothing against. I have nothing against that at all.
Well, we got a guy that's going to elevate your game, Mr. Snyder. And I think you guys got a couple planned hunts coming up. I mean, we think getting away from the hunting, just the two of you out there together, the content that's going to come out of that's going to be pretty insane.
Well, wait till you see the mountain goat hunt that we just went on in August. Not just went on, but that we went on in August. That film is almost done. And it's great because we're all wearing Born Primitive in it. It wasn't even like it wasn't even set up like that. We just happened to all be wearing Born Primitive the whole time. And man, we're in British Columbia, some of the most beautiful country, rugged, and just it's a really good film. So
look forward to it. Anything else before we close out? I know we're going to pick this up again, but I also want to talk about some of your future aspirations, where I think you need to go. But I mean, you have a future in community service, whether you know it or not.
Oh yeah,
and it's your outlook on life. So I hope you guys are looking at that hard, and this is a plug for you, Abby. Steer them in the right direction. But
yeah, we're gonna flip Colorado. That's our goal, is to flip Colorado back.
When you're done, can you come to Virginia?
Well, you need somebody that's like established in Virginia to do that. You know what I mean? And
we're working it. I mean,
you're so close to DC that you know, I think the changes are coming.
That's the issue. We're working it, and I'll be honest with you. I think with the changes we have going in DC right now, I'm hoping America wakes up and sees that. I mean, it's just good for the country that we do what's good for the country. Yeah. It's that simple. So I want to close this out with something really cool. So we're working, and I know you like cool little stuff. We're working with a SEAL. It's a family-based item. He got out of the teams and was a little bent up. And if you talk to a lot of knife makers, they get into the business for therapy. Yeah. And making knives is actually pretty cool therapy. And that's exactly what Mark did. And Mark owns War Paint, and we love their knives, and I love what's on the box. Welcome to the tribe. But this is one of Mark's knives that he has made. And I want to present this to you. I know you kind of like stuff. I know that your big meat hook hand may not fit in that thing, but
no, this is perfect, man. Yeah, this is so badass. Yeah, Thank you, man.
Yeah, man. And then for me, it's a military tradition with the whole coin thing, and I've got one from you here from the HOTWASH. These babies are numbered, so you know you're going to be in the early groups of this. Thank you, my brother.
Thank you, man.
Yeah,
this is sweet. Oh, this is cool.
Yeah, a little reticle there.
Funny story. In 2016, when I refused to kneel, I had like generals sending me shit like this. And I was like, awesome. Fuck. I was like, one of them sent me a flag. I was like, dude, I don't even know. Like, I don't deserve this. Like,
you don't know. You don't know how. And I'll full disclosure, a huge fan of the game. And you know the Patriots and those guys but when there were players out there that were not kneeling, they started becoming my favorite players. I mean, I spent a lifetime for that flag. So here's what it is.
Yeah. Well, that was the way I looked at it, was if one veteran is offended by that, and that pisses him off.
And we were, and it was sugar-coated. It was sugar-coated that what the meaning of it was and all that, it was offensive.
Yeah, it's bullshit.
So yeah, it's you know, and that's to close out with that. Like, if you don't think that the American warfighter is, you know, that flag's important to us. So, so when people are kneeling it, and whatever your personal agenda is, it's disrespectful. You know, do that somewhere else, but not during when we are paying honor to the flag.
Agreed.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of the HOTWASH by Born Primitive Tactical. Don't forget to like, subscribe, or follow us at Born Primitive Tactical. I'll see you next time.